The sun hung low over the dusty plains of West Texas, painting the horizon in strokes of fiery orange and bruised purple, as if the sky itself were mourning the end of another relentless day. Elena Ramirez gripped the steering wheel of her battered pickup truck, her knuckles white against the cracked leather, tears blurring the endless stretch of asphalt ahead. At 35, she had built a life of quiet resilience, running a small veterinary clinic in the forgotten corners of Amarillo, mending broken bones of stray dogs and orphaned foals with hands that trembled only in the dead of night. But tonight, those hands shook for a different reason. She was driving to a blind date, set up by her meddlesome cousin Maria, who swore this cowboy from the neighboring ranch would fix what's broken in you, mija. Elena scoffed at the thought. What was broken wasn't fixable by some lonesome rancher with a drawl and a Stetson. No, the fracture ran deeper, carved into her soul by years of whispered diagnoses and empty nursery rooms. Infertility, the word tasted like ash, a thief that had stolen her dreams of lullabies and tiny feet pattering across hardwood floors. As the truck rattled over a cattle guard, she whispered to the empty cab, "One dinner." "That's all. Then I'm done pretending." The diner was a relic from another era, its neon sign flickering, "Lone Star Eats," like a heartbeat on life support. Inside, the air smelled of sizzling bacon and fresh brewed coffee, mingled with the faint tang of hay from the patrons' boots. Elena spotted him immediately. Jack Harlan, all broad shoulders and faded denim, nursing a black coffee at a corner booth. His face was weathered like old saddle leather, lines etched deep from squinting into the sun and laughing through storms. A silver buckle glinted at his belt, shaped like a rearing Mustang, and his eyes, the color of storm clouds, lit up when she approached. "Ma'am," he said, standing with a tip of his hat that felt like a gentle breeze, "you must be Elena." "I'm Jack. Pleasure's all mine." His voice was gravel wrapped in honey, warm enough to thaw the ice in her chest. They ordered, her a chicken fried steak, him a slab of ribs, and the conversation flowed like the Red River after a rain, easy and unforced. He talked about the ranch, how he'd inherited it from his pa after a heart attack 5 years back, turning it into a haven for troubled horses and wayward souls. She shared stories of her clinic, the golden retriever pup she'd saved from a coyote trap, its tail wagging like a metronome of gratitude. For the first time in months, Elena laughed, a real, belly-deep sound that surprised them both. But as the plates cleared and the pie arrived, apple for her, pecan for him, the weight settled in. Maria's setup had come with a nudge. "He's got a big heart, Elena. Room for more than just cattle." And Jack, with his easy charm, had asked about her dreams, the ones tucked away like forgotten letters in a drawer. She hesitated, fork hovering over the flaky crust, then let it spill. "Jack, I need to be honest. I can't have children. It's not something I share early, but if this is going anywhere, you should know. Doctors said it's impossible. Endometriosis, they called it. Scar tissue like barbed wire inside." The words hung heavy, the diner's hum fading to a distant buzz. She braced for the polite retreat, the averted eyes, the mumbled excuses about needing time to think. Instead, Jack leaned back, a slow smile creasing his face like sunlight breaking through clouds. He set down his fork, reached across the table, and covered her hand with his, calloused palm, rough but kind. "Darlin'," he said, voice steady as the earth, "that's good. I've got enough kids for both of us." Elena's breath caught, a laugh, bubbling up through the ache in her throat, half disbelief, half relief. "Enough kids? What does that even mean?" "You got a litter hidden out at the ranch." Jack chuckled, low and rumbling, and waved over the waitress for refills. "Not mine by blood, mind you. But yeah, Something like that. Come see for yourself tomorrow. No pressure, just coffee on the porch at dawn. She agreed, curiosity overriding caution, and as he walked her to her truck under a canopy of stars thick as spilled sugar, his hand brushed her elbow, not possessive but present. For the first time, the emptiness inside her felt a little less vast. Dawn painted the Harlan Ranch in soft golds, the air crisp with the scent of dew-kissed sagebrush and distant rain. Elena arrived as the first rooster crowed, her truck kicking up gravel that crunched like brittle bones under tires. Jack met her at the gate, thermos in hand, his flannel shirt rolled to the elbows, revealing forearms corded from years of roping steers and mending fences. "Welcome to Chaos Central," he grinned, leading her up a winding path to the sprawling farmhouse, its wraparound porch sagging slightly under the weight of potted geraniums and wind chimes that sang in the breeze. But it wasn't the house that stole her breath, it was the voices. Laughter, sharp and joyful, spilling from the open kitchen window like sunlight. Children, not one or two, but a whirlwind of them. A gangly boy of 12 wrestling a giggling girl half his size over a pancake spatula, twins no older than 8 finger-painting syrup on the table, a toddler with chocolate-smeared cheeks banging a spoon against a high chair. And in the midst, a teenage girl with braids like raven wings, flipping bacon with the focus of a surgeon. Jack poured coffee into mismatched mugs, hers chipped blue, his scarred brown, and introduced them one by one. "This here's Tomas, 12 going on 20, came to us after his folks. Well, life's rough sometimes. He's our resident mechanic, fixes the tractor like it's a puzzle." Tomas blushed, wiping flour from his brow, his dark eyes flicking to Elena with shy curiosity. Lila, 8, and her sister Mia, twins, thick as thieves. Found him in a group home up in Lubbock, scared of their own shadows. Now they shadow me. The girls waved sticky hands, their smiles gap-toothed and radiant. And baby Rosa, 3, our firecracker. Her mama, she couldn't keep her safe, so Rosa found her way here last spring. The toddler beamed up at Elena, offering a mangled pancake like a crown. Then, the teen, Sophia, 16, queen of the castle. She's been with me longest, 4 years now, dreams of veterinary school, just like you. Sophia's gaze met Elena's, sharp and assessing, then softened. Heard about you from Aunt Maria. Said you're magic with animals. Elena's heart swelled, a tide she hadn't felt in years. These weren't Jack's biological children. They were his chosen family, gathered from the cracks of a broken world. Foster kids, he'd explained quietly as they sipped coffee on the porch, watching the sun climb. The state had placed them one by one, and Jack, a widower since his high school sweetheart lost her battle with cancer a decade ago, had opened his home like a barn door in a blizzard. No wife to share the load, just him and the land, turning heartbreak into haven. "Ain't about blood, Elena," he said, gaze fixed on the horizon where horses grazed like golden ghosts. "It's about roots. These kids, they needed soil to grow. I had plenty." She nodded, throat tight, remembering her own childhood in a cramped El Paso apartment, her mother's hands rough from seamstress work, her father's absence a shadow that lingered. Kindness, she'd learned young, was the rarest currency, selfless, unasked for, the kind that mended what doctors and dollars couldn't. Days blurred into weeks, Elena's visits lengthening like shadows at dusk. She'd arrive after clinic hours, stethoscope still tucked in her bag, to find Jack knee-deep in bedtime stories or Sophia poring over biology texts by lamplight. One evening, as fireflies danced in the yard like errant stars, she helped Tomas mend a fence, his small hands fumbling with wire cutters while he confessed dreams of racing cars, not cattle. You think I could, Miss Elena, leave this place someday? She knelt beside him, dirt smudging her jeans, and met his eyes that held the weight of too many goodbyes. You can do anything, mijo, but roots don't mean chains. They mean strength to reach. He hugged her then, fierce and fleeting, and Jack, watching from the porch, smiled that quiet smile, the one that said he'd seen miracles in mud and moonlight. But love, like the prairie wind, doesn't blow straight. The unexpected came on a storm-lashed night in November, thunder rattling the windows like an angry fist. Elena had stayed late, tucking Rosa into bed with a lullaby in Spanish her abuela had sung, Duerme, mi niña, bajo la luna, when the phone shattered the calm. It was Child Protective Services, voices clipped and urgent. Sophia's biological mother, clean for months, wanted her back. Court order, temporary custody hearing in 2 days. Jack's face drained of color, the lines deepening into canyons as he paced the kitchen, coffee gone cold. She just started blooming here, Elena. That woman, she left Sophia on a bus bench when she was 12, high as a kite. Now she thinks 6 months sober makes her a saint. Sophia overheard, of course, teens have ears like hawks, and fled to the barn, slamming the door against the rain. Elena found her curled in a hayloft, knees to chest, tears carving tracks through the dust on her cheeks. I can't go back, Sophia whispered, voice breaking like glass. That life's poison, but Jack, he fights for us, and what if he loses? What if I drag him down? Elena's own scars ached in sympathy, the ghost of her empty womb a dull throb. She sat beside the girl, arm around shoulders that trembled like aspen leaves. Listen to me, Sophia. Jack's not fighting alone anymore. And neither are you. They talked through the storm. About choices, about the ferocity of love that says, stay, because you belong. By dawn, Sophia had quieted, resolve hardening like cooled steel. Jack, bleary-eyed but unbowed, rallied the brood for pancakes, declaring it a war council breakfast. Elena stayed, her presence a silent vow, and as they plotted appeals and character witnesses, she realized the profound twist in her tale. She, who had mourned the children she couldn't bear, was mothering these ones without blood or biology. It wasn't replacement, it was revelation, the heart's capacity to expand, like the ranch itself, vast and unyielding. The hearing unfolded in a sterile Amarillo courtroom, fluorescent lights buzzing like trapped hornets, the air thick with the scent of old paper and anxiety. Jack sat ramrod straight in his Sunday best, a crisp white shirt straining at the shoulders, flanked by Elena and the kids, who fidgeted in starched collars like colts in stalls. Sophia's mother, gaunt and jittery, testified with rehearsed sincerity, her eyes darting to the judge like a cornered fox. I've changed, Your Honor. Rehab, a job at the diner. Sophia deserves her real family. The word, real, landed like a slap, and Tomas gripped Elena's hand under the table, his whisper fierce, she's lying. We are real. Elena's testimony came next, her voice steady despite the knot in her gut. She spoke of Sophia's grades, her gentle hand with the horses, the way she'd bandaged Lila's scraped knee with veterinary tape and a joke. This girl isn't a prize to reclaim, Elena said, meeting the judge's gaze. She's a life rebuilt, brick by selfless brick, in a home that chose her first. But the turn came from Jack, not with words, but with evidence. He rose, unfolding a worn ledger from his coat pocket, pages yellowed and filled with scrawled notes, dates of doctor's visits, school reports, birthday cards from Pa Jack. Your Honor, he drawled, voice carrying the weight of weathered oak, I ain't got fancy lawyers or blood ties to wave. But I've got this. He testified not of his loss, his wife's grave under a live oak, the empty crib dusted with regret, but of gain. How Tomas had arrived wild-eyed and silent, now leading 4-H projects with a swagger. The twins, once flinching at raised voices, now belting show tunes in the shower. Rosa, who spoke her first full sentence calling him Daddy. And Sophia, his voice cracked here, just once, she taught me grace. Came to me broken, left me whole. He paused, eyes sweeping the room, landing on Elena with a look that said, "We're in this, darlin'. All of us. Family ain't born, it's forged. In mud, in midnight fevers, in choosing to stay when running's easier. I got enough love for that fire. And these kids, they've got enough heart to burn bright." The judge, a silver-haired woman with eyes like polished flint, leaned forward, fingers steepled. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring, broken only by Rosa's sleepy yawn from Elena's lap. Then, the gavel fell, not with finality but mercy. Reunification denied, full guardianship to Mr. Harlan, pending adoption. Gasps rippled, then cheers, muffled, tear-choked, from the Harlan row. Sophia buried her face in Jack's chest, sobs shaking her frame, while the younger ones piled on in a tangle of limbs and laughter. Elena stood apart for a moment, watching the chaos unfold like a miracle in miniature, her own tears hot and unashamed. Jack caught her eye over the melee, mouthing "thank you," and she knew. This was the climax, not of loss, but of lavish giving. His selflessness, her quiet strength. They had woven a safety net from threads of humanity, catching a girl mid-fall. Winter softened into spring, the ranch awakening in riots of blue bonnets and Indian paintbrush, petals unfurling like secrets kept too long. Elena and Jack's courtship deepened, unhurried as a lazy river, stolen kisses behind the barn, hands clasped over fence rails at sunset. She moved in come June, her clinic bag joining the mudroom clutter of lunchboxes and lasso ropes. The kids adapted with the grace of wild things, Tomas calling her Daki during homework marathons, the twins braiding wildflowers into her hair, Rosa toddling after her with a toy stethoscope. Sophia, ever the sentinel, pulled her aside one evening as they weeded the vegetable garden, soil black and fertile under their nails. "You know why he said that. On your first date." Elena glanced up, hope pausing mid-strike. "Said what?" Sophia smirked, wiping sweat from her brow. "About having enough kids. He saw it in you, the hurt. Ha, Jack. He lost ma young, wanted a dozen babies. But after she went, he figured love's not hoarded, it's shared. Like water from a well. You dip in, it fills back up." Elena's chest tightened, realization dawning like the morning star. She hadn't been pitied or passed over. She'd been invited, included in a legacy of open arms. Yet the true transformative act came unscripted, on a sweltering July afternoon when the vet clinic's phone rang with a plea that twisted Elena's world anew. A litter of kittens, mewling and mange-ridden, abandoned in a cardboard box by the highway, mother hid by a semi, the caller said. Elena drove out alone, heart pounding with the old grief, cradling the survivors in a towel as thunderheads gathered. Back at the ranch, she worked by the light of a gooseneck lamp in the tack room, suturing tiny wounds, force-feeding milk from a dropper. Jack found her there at midnight, sleeves rolled, exhaustion carving hollows under her eyes. "Darlin', you can't save 'em all." She looked up, voice fierce through tears. "But I can try, God, Jack, I can try for the ones I can reach." He knelt beside her, one hand on her shoulder, the other gently stroking a kitten's whiskered muzzle. Then, without fanfare, he rose and returned with a wooden crate lined in soft hay, the one from Rose's arrival, repurposed 100 times. "Then let's try together," he said simply, settling in to hold the weakest, his large hands a cradle of impossible tenderness. In that moment, as rain pattered the tin roof like applause, Elena understood the power of their union, not in filling voids, but in multiplying abundances. Jack's generosity wasn't grand gestures or silver-tongued vows, it was the everyday alchemy of turning mine into ours. Her compassion, once solitary, now echoed in the chorus of a family forged from fragments. The kittens survived, 3 tabbies and a calico, named for the wildflowers that carpeted their new world. And Elena, she bloomed, not despite her barrenness, but because of it. Her love a river diverted, watering gardens she never dreamed to plant. Years folded like accordion pleats, the ranch a tapestry of milestones. Tomas's first dirt track win, Sophia's acceptance to Texas A&M with a full ride, the twins' duet at the county fair drawing whoops from weathered faces. Rosa started school, her backpack slung low, declaring Elena, Mama E, to anyone who'd listen. Jack and Elena married on the porch at Harvest Moon, barefoot in the grass, vows exchanged under a sky stitched with constellations. No white dress or tiered cake, just barbecue ribs and a cake frosted by small, eager hands, the air alive with stories and song. Friends from town came, Maria dabbing her eyes with a bandana, toasting to love that don't count the cost. But the heart's true measure gleams in quiet hours. One crisp October eve, 5 years to the day of that diner confession, Elena and Jack sat on the porch swing, creaking gently as hoot owls called. The kids slumbered inside, windows glowing like lanterns against the dark. She leaned her head on his shoulder, his arm a steady anchor. "You know," she murmured, tracing the veins on his hand like rivers on a map, "I used to think my story ended with that doctor's cold room, charts and regrets, a life half-lived. But you turned the page." Jack tilted his chin, pressing lips to her temple. "Nah, darlin', you were the ink, bold and black, writing us all into something holy." He paused, gaze drifting to the star-pricked sky. "Enough kids, enough love. Turns out, there's always more where that came from." In the hush of that night, with the wind whispering through cottonwoods like a benediction, Elena felt the world's weight lift, not gone, but shared. Kindness, she knew now, is the great leveler, a cowboy's smile, a vet's steady hand, a family's fierce embrace. It bridges chasms no science can span, turning "I can't" into "we will." And in the heart of America's wide-open spaces, where dreams are as vast as the plains, such stories remind us we're all just one selfless choice from home. From hope, from the miracle of enough.